Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Read M. My name is Emily, and today I will be reading books from my most anticipated releases list of 2018. So I began filming this video a very long time ago. I believe it was in like winter of 2021, like December or November, and I reacted to the list of my most anticipated books from 2018 that I posted back in 2017. And then I chose 4 books that I'm going to read in this video, see if they were worth putting on my list, and also getting them off my physical TBR because I've clearly owned them for at least 4 years. Enjoy past Emily, and let's just get straight into this video. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Read M. My name is Emily, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit scary. That is looking through my blog post of my most anticipated releases of 2018. I'm scared for some of them. I believe I had 18 most anticipated releases because it was 2018, and I did spoil myself for the very first one because it like came up when I clicked on it, but I haven't looked at the rest of them and I'm scared. And I think depending on how many I haven't read and if I'm still interested in them, I can make a TBR based on some of those. So I guess we should just get right into it. I'll screen record and put it up next to me somewhere. Okay, so here's my post from December 29th, 2017. So that's actually 4 years ago when I posted this. Okay, so I did spoil myself from the first one by accident because I showed me. So this is Batman Nightwalker by Marie Lu, and I had this on my list because Marie Lu wrote the Legend series, which was one of my favorite series ever, and it still is. But I kind of since then have lost interest in this. Okay, here's the first one I haven't seen. Let's scroll. The Case for Jamie by Brittany Cavallaro. Okay, so this is the 3rd book in the Charlotte Holmes series, which of course I've read, gave them all 5 stars, love the series so much. It's a retelling of Sherlock, and it's just great. It's gender bent. It's basically descendants of Sherlock and Watson, and they meet at like a prestigious boarding school, and they have to like work together on a murder at the school. That's the first one, and then they go from there, and they're kind of retellings of, you know, the general Sherlock plot with Moriarty, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff, if you're familiar with it. So far we have 1 that I've read and 1 that I'm no longer interested in. Oh, here we go. The Fates Divide by Veronica Roth. This is the 2nd book in the Carve the Mark duology, and I had read the first one at this point, which is why I had this on my most anticipated list. However, I actually have owned a signed edition of this book for several years and never read it, and now I don't really have interest in it, so I'm actually getting rid of it. It's in my unhaul pile. So again, 2 that I have lost interest in and 1 that I've read. Not too bad, not too bad though. Better than 1 I'm still interested in that I haven't read for 4 years. Like that's, we're gonna say, there's probably gonna be some of those. Meet Cute. Okay, this is a good one. I've actually read this and I still have it, and I really like this book and I would consider rereading some of the stories from it. It's really cute. It's just an anthology about meet cutes. Yeah, this is a good one, and it definitely makes me more interested in certain authors from it when there's a lot of authors on this one that I want to read more from, that I still haven't done that though. So maybe I should get on that too. Oh, this is the first one of shame. This is the first one of shame. The Bells by Danielle Clayton. I have it actually right here. This is The Bells by Danielle Clayton. I still have this, I'm still interested in it, and I still have not read it in 4 years. Isn't that really special? Okay, so this is the first one that I'll make a little pile of the ones that I'm still interested in, and I should really get to soon. Next up, A Thousand Perfect Notes by C.G. Drews. So I never read this book, but I did read the beginning of her other book, The Boy Who Steals Houses, that's what it's called, and I DNF'd it because I really, really hated the writing style, and I felt really bad. I don't know what it was about it. It was something about it. Also the font. I don't know. It was like I think she's Australian, this author, so the book was like an Australian edition. Something about its size and the font was not vibing with me. Like it was just like really big, and I was like, what is this? And I couldn't get into it, so I DNF'd it and I took all this author's stuff off of my thing just because like, the writing style, it didn't gel with me. So I feel really bad, but this is another one I'm just not interested in anymore. Okay, number 12. Oh my God, this is going so fast. The Poet X. Oh my god, okay. The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. I have read this. I didn't love it and I unhauled it, but it was good. It was like, I gave it 3.5 stars, I think. I don't think that it was the story that I didn't like. It was just that I don't think I really like reading books that are in verse or poetry, because this is told in verse. But the story itself was pretty interesting. I just didn't connect to it because it was written in verse, and I just can't really connect to that. Okay, next one. The Brink of Darkness by Jeff Giles. Okay, this is another DNF that I did try to read. So this is the sequel to The Edge of Everything by Jeff Giles, which is somewhere behind me. I actually really liked The Edge of Everything. It was one of the first books I read when I was first getting into BookTube, and I've actually met the author and he was really nice. I remember trying to read a sequel and I didn't like it. So I'm gonna leave this one as a standalone in my mind and ignore this one. So this is another one that I technically have read. Oh no, oh my god. Okay, we have Unearthed by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner, which I think is pitched as like Indiana Jones in space, and I do have this book and I still haven't read it, so I'm gonna take that off the shelf right now. Okay, so this book's actually in my basement, so I'm not gonna like take it up right now, but it is on the list of potentials of ones I still haven't read in the 4 years that I've known about them and said that I wanted to read them, and I own. What is wrong with me? Okay, let's keep going. Oh my god. This is getting worse by the second. The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X. Pan. This one's so bad. This one is so bad because my friends love this book and they keep telling me to read it, and I haven't, and it's right there. It's right above me. I'm gonna get it. I'll get it right now. Okay, here it is. This is The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X. Pan. It's even by someone named Emily. And I still haven't read it. This is a magical realism book. It's really sad. I think it's about grief and like someone's aunt who turns into a bird because she committed suicide. I don't really remember, but I've heard amazing things about this since 2017 when I wrote this blog post. I still haven't read it. I need to read this one. Okay, so we have 3 on the potential TBR now. Okay, let's go. I'm on number 8. I'm scared. Oh no. This is so bad. This is so bad. Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi. Guys, I still haven't read this. Because, okay, here's the thing. This is what happened. This book was like the most hyped book of 2018 when it did come out. So I can understand why I was so excited about it. And I've heard great things about this book. But then the sequel came out and everyone hated it. Literally everyone. So now I'm like, well, why would I want to start a series that everyone hated the sequel of? But also, like, I could just read it as a standalone if people love this one so much. And I've had it for so long and I need to read it. Oh my god. This is getting worse by the second. Okay, we have 4 books now that I haven't read, that I've had on my TBR since 2017 and I own. Okay, moving on. Let's just get this. Let's rip off the band-aid. Number 7. Well, I wrote number 8 twice. Okay, well, what doesn't matter. The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. I have read that and I unhauled it, even though it was 5 stars. I know, confusing, right? No, okay, so basically that book, 5 stars, I loved it. It was an Owl Crate book that I had and it was so good. It's like kind of urban fantasy and thriller at the same time. It's basically about this girl whose mom was like somehow involved in fairy tales and she went missing and she's trying to find her mom, and then it goes into like this like labyrinthine magical realism, weird scary landscape, very Alice in Wonderland almost. It was really good. Then I tried to read the sequel and I think I read the whole thing, but I was kind of skimming at some points and I hated it so much. I think I gave it 3 stars because I was just like, I can't tell you why this is bad, but it's bad. And then that just like scarred and tainted my entire feelings about the first book, and then I got rid of it. So that was that journey, but I did read it and I did like it at first. So that's good. That's a win. Another one I've read. Okay. I needed that to calm down. Let's go to the next one. Number 7, Shadow Song. Okay. Calm down. We can breathe again. Shadow Song by S.J. Jones. Again, another DNF. Clearly my anticipated release this thing was not going well this year. But I did read this. I DNF'd it, but it was the sequel to Winter Song, which is another book that I really enjoyed, and then the sequel kind of ruined. I don't think I quite ruined the first one, but like I would never reread the first one. But this one, no. It did not have anything that I liked about the first one in it. And I did not like it. I'm scared to keep going now after how scarring some of these have been. Okay. Oh my god. Okay, this one sounds bad. This is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, which I still haven't read and I really want to read, but the thing that is making me feel better about this is that I do not own this book. So it doesn't make me feel quite as guilty because I don't own it, so it's okay that I haven't like quite read it yet because it's not, you know, on my own TBR. Okay, let's go going. Number 5. We have 5 left. These Rebel Waves by Sarah Rash. Okay, I think I know I put this on because I had read her other series. I don't even know what it's called. Snow Like Ashes. It was so mediocre, but at the time I liked it because I thought I liked everything I read. But no. It's not very good. Don't bother with that series. But yeah, so this is not interested anymore. Okay, let's just keep going. We're gonna plow through the rest. Number 4. Oh my god. Okay, Honor Among Thieves. I do really still want to read this. Like really bad, but I don't own it, so I don't feel quite as guilty, and it wouldn't be on my TBR. This is like a sci-fi thing. I don't know. It just sounds really good. So this one is definitely still one I want to read, but I don't own it, so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, number 3. Legendary. Okay, of course, Legendary Stephanie Garber. I've read that, loved it, so good. Love all the Caraval series. I have them right there. I even have the special edition. Love those. Read this. Amazing. Perfect. Okay. 2 more. We can do it. 2 more left. The Lady's Guide. Oh my god. Oh, I didn't see what the bottom said, but I almost did. Okay, The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy. Again, I don't own this, so that's good. That is a good thing. However, I have not yet read it. But here's the thing. This is what happened. I read The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, which is the first one, back in the day. And I liked it at the time. I really liked it, but now looking back, I don't think I actually really liked it that much. Like, I think it would have been like a 3-star now. However, I got rid of that book and then I decided to take this book off of my TBR. But since then, I've looked up certain things about it and it's made me more interested in this book because it's not really a sequel. I think it's more of a spin-off about the female character, Felicity, I think her name was. And it got me more interested in it again. So I do actually still want to read that book, but I don't own it, so again, don't have to feel too guilty about it. but I'll keep it in mind that I've been having it on my TBR for this long. Okay, number 1. What on earth could number 1 be? A book that was coming out in 2018. Do you think it's a Grisha book? Do you think it's a Grisha book? It could be a Grisha book. What else would it be? Okay, we're gonna look. Obsidio. Oh, of course. Okay, Obsidio I've read, of course. I really liked it. I don't think it would really be 5 stars if it was like on its own, but in connection to the rest of the series, I still give it 5 stars, even though it was way more mediocre than the first 2 books. But yes, I've definitely read Obsidio and I loved that series overall, even if Obsidio was like kind of a weak point. But yeah, oh my god, okay, that's all of my anticipated releases. Okay, so I guess we can make a TBR out of this. This will be so easy. So I have 4 books on the TBR that are from this video, which are books that I was excited about coming out in 2018 that I already knew about in 2017. So I have known about these books and been excited for them and said I actively wanted to read them for 4 years and still haven't. And some of them I own. And the ones those are Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan, The Bells by Danielle Clayton, and Unearthed by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner, which I have in my basement, so I'm not holding it right now, but I do own that book. So this plus 1 more would be my TBR. Okay, so I've decided on my first book. I actually made a poll on my Goodreads and Twitter, and I got around like 80 votes, so thank you all for voting. And what ended up winning was Children of Blood and Bone by like a milestone on both polls. However, I remembered that I'm actually in school right now because I'm stuck here. I thought I was gonna be home, but then my family got COVID, so I had to wait a little bit longer, so I'm not home with all my books right now. So I only had 2 books to choose from, and I wanted to pick the shorter one because I was just like, I don't know. This one called to me. I was in the mood for Unearthed by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner because I wanted to read a sci-fi. It's very short, it's like 300 pages, and that's just what I decided. I started this. I am now officially halfway through, so that's why I'm doing my first update. And I've been on a journey with this book so far. I've only been reading it for like a few days. Like it's been going quickly-ish because the first day I read like 100 pages. I was really into it. I really liked the like action, the sci-fi stuff. It was really reminding me of Don't Look Up, and also this video game that I really like called Outer Wilds, just about aliens, and it's kind of like, it has similar vibes, and I was really enjoying it. Then I kept going past the 100-page point and I kind of hit a wall. Now I'm at like 160 something, and I'm just like, I am interested where the grand plot will go, but I just don't care about the characters at all. Like, they're just very, very, very juvenile, and like, I know it's a young adult book. Like, okay, I get that, but I've read so many great young adult books where they don't feel so like angsty and annoying and like cardboard characters. So I don't really like the characters very much, but I don't hate it, and I'm already over halfway, and it's short, and like the action's interesting. It's like sort of fun, so I think I'm gonna finish it. But like, I'm really not anticipating more than like a 3-star, maybe 4 stars if the ending is like crazy, but probably like 3.5 stars. But like, that's just where I am right now. But I have to do a lot of packing, and the stupid audiobook is still on hold in my library, so I can't listen to it. I might listen to something else versus listen to music, but I'm gonna pack, and I'm probably just gonna do like timed sprints almost. Like, I'm gonna pack for like half an hour, and then I'll read a chapter, and then pack for half an hour, read a chapter, whatever. I feel like that'll help me motivate to do both things. That's the plan for today, and I'll update you guys once I'm done with this book. So yeah, see you soon. Okay, I am back for my reading update. It's been a few days because I moved back in to my home, luckily. Oh my god. Yep, thought this was gonna happen. Okay, I'll update you in a little bit. Carpet installed, so Austin has to be in my room now, and it's gonna be loud. So I can't really film right now, but I'll update you guys, you know, in a little bit. Okay, I'm back now. It is like 5 to 6 hours later. The rug has been installed. I read actually a lot during that period because I was just trapped in my room. My dog was farting in my face a lot, and I watched some Better Call Saul, ate outside, and here we are. That's my update for that. Anyway, what I actually wanted to update you guys on was that a few days ago, I finished Unearthed. Was this yesterday? Oh my god, that was yesterday. No, it was 2 days ago. It was 2. Time feels weird now that I'm home. I don't know. 1 or 2 days ago, I finished Unearthed by Amy Kaufman and Megan Spooner, and I was on quite a roller coaster with this book. For the first 100 pages, I was very into it. I really enjoyed the like desert planet they were on. Themes it was exploring were really reminding me of the movie Don't Look Up, and the plot with like the alien artifacts and stuff was really reminding me of one of my favorite video games called Outer Wilds, and it really was similar to that, and I was like, wow, this is actually kind of good. I don't understand why people give it low ratings. Like, I've read from Amy Kaufman before, from the Illuminae files and from Aurora Rising, which I really liked the first book, then hated the second book, and then I never continued the series. Now this one, I think, unfortunately, is going to solidify the fact that I will not be reading more from Amy Kaufman, unless maybe if it sounds like absolutely amazing, but no, I've had 2 duds in the past 2 books I tried to read from her, and yeah, so ultimately I'm giving this 2 stars. Because while the first 100 pages I actually found to be quite good, things got so repetitive. Like, even the writing itself, like, I'm really not someone who thinks about the writing too much while I'm reading. Maybe a little bit more so now that I am a writer too. I try to look at the writing a little bit, but more for like inspiration, like for the positive things, not for the negative things. But this book, oh my god, it was so repetitive in the monologues, like inner monologues that each character was having. Like, we had good inner monologues for the first time, but then it just kept going and going. And the plot setup was great. The plot setup was very interesting, kind of the same premise again as Don't Look Up and that game Outer Wilds, but then it didn't go anywhere. And then where it did go was so dumb. And it might be like redeemed maybe a little bit in the sequel, but like, I'm not reading the sequel. This is a 2-star book. I mean, it was short enough and easy enough to read that I finished it. Normally, I don't even think I get through. Normally, if a book is under 3 stars, I don't even try to finish it. I usually just like DNF. But this one I was like, I just want to definitively know that I gave this the best shot I could. And I did. And it didn't get there. I mean, I think someone could like this if you've literally never read sci-fi at all, and I think if you're younger, you would probably like this. Like, it's fine. But like, no. If you've read literally any sci-fi, and you are not like under the age of 14, I don't think you're going to really enjoy this. I'm sorry. So I'm going to be unhauling this after this clip. So yeah, that's interesting to think about. That was one of my most anticipated releases of 2018. You know, thinking back though, there's no reason why that shouldn't have been one of my most anticipated releases, because I loved Illuminae. It makes sense why that was on my list. I also remember being very excited about These Broken Stars, which is a bit of a throwback series from back in the day. I still never read that, and definitely now will not be reading that, but people that loved that, I mean, a lot of people loved that, so it makes sense why I wanted to read that, but it also makes sense why I didn't like it now. Moving on though, we have some good news. Don't worry, it's not all bad news. I then began on my plane ride. There's kind of a bit of an airport fiasco involving delays, our luggage carousel not existing, and then we had to be handed our luggage one by one out of this like strange garage. So it was a long day. And so it involved quite a bit of reading. That's how I finished that book very quickly, but then I also started The Bells by Danielle Clayton. This book, I was going in with kind of apprehensive expectations, because here's the thing. I was very excited about this book, obviously, when it came out, because it was on my list, but like, looking at the blurb now, I was like, oh no, is this going to be, again, something that is just like, it could have been cool if I hadn't read it before, like things like this before, which is true at the time, but now that I've read so many like young adult fantasy dystopian books, am I going to be like not liking it? But honestly, okay, I'm only 150 pages in, and you know, the first 100 pages of that I did like, so maybe things could change, but I really like this book, like really like this book. And I am still a little scared because I did see that someone who had the most like accurate review to my feelings of Unearthed also gave this book like 2 stars, so that scared me. But maybe going in with lower expectations is actually helping me, because I really like this. And you know what? You know what I think is making me like this better? Is that I appreciate the writing in here. The writing here is good, and I am glad to have noticed that, because the reason I was more excited to read this book like more recently is that I read an anthology called Meet Cute, and Danielle Clayton's was one of my favorites, and I gave her 5 stars, and I was excited to read this book ever since I read that many years ago too. And now that I'm actually at this, I'm like, okay, it's true that I actually really enjoy her writing. I love her like food and fashion descriptions. It's making the world just like so like tantalizing. Like, I really, if someone asked me like a question like what fantasy world would you want to live in? Well, okay, there's like messed up parts about this world, but like if we're just going off sheer aesthetics, this is the world I would want to live in. I know it's inspired by like New Orleans, and it's just really cool. It's really cool. There's also a map that wasn't in the Kindle version, but it's in this version because it's on the end papers. But it's really pretty. Honestly, here's another thing that's very interesting about this book. It's definitely pitched as a fantasy book, but it's totally a dystopian. Like, this is definitely a book that the author wanted to write dystopian, but it was during the whole dystopian shutdown of like no more dystopian in YA because of like Divergent, whatever. So they masked the world as a fantasy, and this is how this book was born. That's like what I'm getting from this. But I mean, I like that. I like dystopian. I wish dystopian didn't fully go away. So like, I'm liking this, and the world honestly reminds me the most out of all the YA fantasy books I've read of Caraval, in the sense that it's like, I guess because it's like islands, but also because the magic system is not like really concrete. It's very like aesthetic and tempting with like food and fashion, and I don't know, just like the whimsy of it really reminds me of Caraval. So I'm just really enjoying this so far. I also really like all of our characters are really interesting, and like the politics are really interesting. I feel like I'm probably not gonna end up reading the sequel just because I really liked it so far, and like it'll probably be good. And maybe I will. Maybe I'll change my mind by the end of this. I guess I can't decide now because I haven't finished. But like I just see that the reviews for the sequel are like so disappointed. And I feel like even if I like this, then I don't want to be disappointed by the sequel. So I'm not sure yet like what I'm going to give this. If I had to rate it right now, it would honestly be a 4.5. But we're going to see where it goes. It can go up or it could go down. I'm kind of scared, but I don't know. I'm going to keep reading this. I might also check out the audiobook at some point because when I posted the poll of what books you guys think I should read next for this video, that one, someone commented that the audiobook was really good for this one. I'm going to get back to reading and I'm going to update you guys if anything crazy happens or if I finish. So yeah, see you soon. Okay. So this is quite an update. The good news is that I did finish reading The Bells by Danielle Clayton. The bad news is that I now have COVID and I'm stuck in my room. And you know, maybe that's kind of good for the reading because I have more time, but it's also kind of bad because I am experiencing a bit of a sickliness. It has not been a pleasant experience, so that's why this video has been taking longer than expected, but whatever. You're gonna see it when you see it. Let's move on to my thoughts on The Bells. I am giving this book 4 stars. The first half of it was definitely like a solid 4.5 stars for me. I really enjoyed it. The whole thing is like very fast paced and easy to read. I really like Danielle Clayton's writing, and that is actually like what initially got me to want to read this book, and I loved her writing in that one too, so I wanted to read more from her, and I had this book and here we are. And I still agree that her writing is great and I really want to read like more books from her in the future. With that being said, I will not be continuing in this specific series just because I liked this enough, but not to the point where I would continue, especially the ending. See, the first half for me was great, like really interesting setup and intrigue and writing, and I liked the characters, I liked the world especially. The world really reminded me of like Effie from the Hunger Games. Like her entire aesthetic is just this world, and it was kind of almost a dystopia within a fantasy series, which I think is really interesting. Like it's not really a kingdom, it's not really a city. I guess it's more of like a city on like islands, and I really liked that setting compared to like kingdom or like woodland fantasies. I like this better. It kind of reminded me also of Caraval. And while I really enjoyed my time reading this, I found the last bit to be a bit slower, or maybe more repetitive is a better word, because it was still quite fast paced and everything that happened was like kind of predictable. But I would still highly recommend this to newer readers, especially just like YA and dystopian and fantasy, and even like just younger readers in general, because well, there are like some mature themes, and I don't think it like reads really young or anything. I just think that it's not like super revolutionary, which it doesn't have to be, but that's why I'm giving this 4 stars personally instead of 5. But I do think like if I had read this in middle school, I would have given this 5 stars, and like I'm definitely keeping this on my shelves. Like I enjoyed it enough. I really like the descriptions, and I would like reread certain passages maybe for like some writing inspiration, and I will definitely like keep it on my list of books to recommend to kids to read, especially for like YA and fantasy dystopian lovers. I think also if you like the selection, even though I didn't like the selection, I think if you did, you would really like this. That is all for this update. Oh, you know what I actually want to show you guys? One more thing for this update is that I have started in my quarantine endeavors cross-stitching a little fox. This is his face. It's gonna be a fox, trust me. This part alone took probably an hour, so you know, but that was because I was just learning. Now that I know what I'm doing, it'll probably go a bit faster. But it's gonna be really big. Like it's gonna take up like a lot of this sheet. My dad bought me this kit because I was bored, but I did want to get into cross-stitching ever since I saw Kayla from Books and Lala doing it for one of her videos. I'll link that down below. But anyway, yeah, this is my progress. Maybe I'll listen to an audiobook while I do this. So I will update you guys once I start my next read. We have some good news and we have some bad news. I'll start with the bad news. First of all, it's been so long that I've been recording this video for. And it's for 2 reasons. I've been very busy because I'm finally home and I'm going to go back to school. So that means I had to hang out with all my friends like every single day all the time this week. So I didn't do as much reading as normal. But this is what has come of that. So we have Children of Blood and Bone. I got 130 pages into this and it took me like an entire week to do that. And yes, I was busy, but like I was not busy to the point where I should have been reading that slowly. So I have realized and decided that this is a DNF. I feel really bad because I do think this book is really important because it is like a Nigerian inspired fantasy, one of probably the first, especially in young adult, and I honestly don't think that was wrong to me. It's just that I've discovered over time by reading a lot of young adult fantasy that the kind of fantasy I enjoy is usually about like criminals, con artists, gangs, and I don't really enjoy the princess kingdom fantasies as much anymore. Maybe just because I've read a lot, but the only ones I liked were like the first ones I ever read. And well, I think it's obviously very important that there is like a Princess Kingdom fantasy with characters who are not just like European inspired. This just isn't, it's not holding my attention, and I would rather sell it or give it away to someone who actually wants to read this and will really appreciate it. So I decided to DNF this one. I gave it a good shot. I got over 100 pages and I read it for over a week, which is like not normal for me, especially in the summer. So yes, I will be passing this along to somebody else, and I think they will enjoy it because honestly, like, for me, nothing was wrong with it. I just felt absolutely no qualms about putting it down. Like, I feel nothing. I feel like I have nothing I need to know or want to know, and I felt not really any connection to any of the characters, maybe like one or two, but not enough where I care about not finishing. So yes, and I've also heard mixed things about the sequel, and the third one still hasn't come out, which is like, is that, I don't know, a little suspicious. Yeah, so those are my thoughts on this one. And that means for this video so far, out of 3 books, we had one winner, which was The Bells by Danielle Clayton. We had one failure, which was Unearthed, which was 2 stars, but I did finish it. I was interested enough to finish, but it wasn't a good ending. And then we had Children of Blood and Bone, which I couldn't even finish. But honestly, if I had continued and like rated it, it might have been fine because it was not bad. Nothing was holding my attention. And maybe I should have just gone farther. I don't know. But obviously something wasn't clicking, and I'm not going to try to force myself to read books that I don't want to be reading and not read because I don't want to be reading it. Anyway, we have very good news though. Let's go to the good news. The good news is, yesterday, while I was at the doctor's office deciding to DNF that book, I also had a Kindle book on my phone, which was the next book I have to read, and then it's The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan. And guys, oh my god, this book is so good. I started yesterday. I have read 71 pages, and I read 45 pages at the doctor's office on my phone. Like, it was that good. Also, hot tip. Is that a phrase? I don't know. Pro tip for anyone who reads on their phone. I highly, highly recommend turning on continuous scrolling. It's so much better than the page thing because it doesn't break up your flow, and you don't have to, I don't know, I think I've read that the reason that people read slowly is not because of their reading comprehension, it's because of the fact that you have to like move your eyes. So like if you just like had something that just like shows you the words like in rapid succession, you could read really fast and understand everything, but because you have to like move your eyes, it takes up time and you have to like find where the next line is and stuff. But if you do continuous scrolling, your finger keeps what you want to be reading in the center of the screen, so you don't have to move your eyes. And I don't know, for me, I find that I read so much faster and I read so much more because I feel like in continuous scrolling, one chapter feels like an accomplishment, where when I was reading on pages, every single page felt like I read a page, even though it's not a page because it's like my phone screen. And I'd be like, wow, I read so much, and then I just hadn't. So I feel like the chapter like swirling thing, it just makes me read so much faster, and I like it better. And I stayed up so much later than I should have last night because I just couldn't stop. I literally couldn't stop. I am obsessed with the vibes. I'm obsessed with the chapter links. I'm obsessed with the writing. The writing is really like what immediately hooked me. I should probably tell you what this is about. This book is a very like strange magical realism book, which right up my alley. I know many people who have loved this book in real life and online, and it is about a young girl named Lee, and who is 16, I believe, and she one day comes home and discovers that her mother killed herself, and now she is dealing with the fact that she knows for a fact that her mother has turned into a bird. And when I read this pitch, I thought that it meant like a bird, like a normal bird outside her window, but no. This is a large bird, like 5 feet tall, red, and like one of those, I think this is the weird bird thing from Up, but red. That's what I'm imagining. It talks to her, so she knows it's her mom, and it brings her like things that have been burned in the past that like can't physically be given to her, but the bird is bringing it to her. So now, one of the things that she was given was a message in a box that said, go visit your grandparents in Taiwan, who she's never met before, and her mom always refused to talk about. So now she is visiting her grandparents in Taiwan and learning more about her cultural history because she's half Taiwanese and half like Irish American, although her dad is like I forget what the word is, but he studies Chinese like history and language, so he's completely fluent in Mandarin, but she doesn't really know Mandarin. It's kind of like a tough point for her because she feels disconnected to that part of her culture and family. And it's so well written. It's so well written, and I love an unexplained weird magical realism. And maybe it'll get a little bit explained, but it's very like, I don't think it's gonna get explained. It's just like a good allegory for grief, and the stuff in Taiwan is very interesting too. That's all I have to say about this, but like, I honestly think I could finish this within 1 or 2 days. So we're gonna see, depending on how much time I have, because I have to pack. That's my update for this. I'm very excited that I'm like getting out of my reading slump, because that other book really put me in a reading slump. Like, I was trying to read that for so long and no, it just wasn't happening. But this one, so good. Also, I'm very proud of the bookmark I have for this book, because it's not actually for this book, it's for Crown of Feathers. It's a little red feather and it's cute, and I love matching my bookmarks to my books. So this was perfect for that. Anyway, I will update you guys when I hopefully finished and loved this book, or I might do a little montage of me like reading it, and I will update you guys with my final thoughts for this whole video and for this book, and I'm very excited to finally be reading something I really like. It's been a minute, but we're back in it, and I finished The Astonishing Color After by Emily X. Rappan. And let me tell you, this was such a win. This book was beautiful. I'm giving it 4.5 stars. There was one small thing that I kind of was lukewarm about, but the rest of it was absolutely breathtaking, and I highly recommend that you go out and read this book. And I'm so glad that I had this on my anticipated releases list for 2018, because I was so right. This book is worth every minute of reading. What really blew me away about this book was the writing style. This is a debut from 2018. I am 4 years late to this debut. Nonetheless, I am here and I am glad, because the writing in this is impeccable, and I definitely want to read more from Emily X. Rappan in the future, because her writing is just, it was not a debut level. Like, it was so much better than that. I also really loved the genre and style of this book. It's like really nonsensical magical realism, which is the kind of magical realism I enjoy, where it enhances the story because of like kind of its symbolic meaning, but it doesn't really have any rules necessarily in like a magic system like in fantasy. This book also was very unique to me, which I feel like is sometimes hard to find within YA as you read more and more, or just books in general, and it definitely covered conversations I have not read a million times before. It covers lots of interesting conversations about grief, and specifically surrounding like suicide and depression, and it also takes place in Taiwan, which is a different setting than I'm used to, and I was very refreshed by that. And also the main character, while she is half Taiwanese, she's not really very connected to that culture because her mother was so disconnected from her family, and so when she goes to Taiwan, she gets to like learn the traditions and culture for the first time, and you kind of get to learn along with her, and she has to deal with the fact that like even though she is Taiwanese, she is not seen that way by the people there because she's mixed. The only thing that I didn't love about this book was the romance. I think that this book was a little bit long, and it could have been cut down if they had less of the romance. I do think it was very important to have a strong relationship outside of her family, because it's, you know, to show that like support is good in dealing with grief. But there were two relationships she had, one like a best friend and one like a best friend that became a romance, and I just don't think they needed both. And I just think it could have just been best friendship with either of them, and then it would have had less like romance drama that took me out of the plot that I was actually interested in. But overall, this was a super amazing read, and right now it's in the top 10 of the year. I think it's my number 10 for books I've read this year, but it could get bumped down because it wasn't quite a 5-star. That is all the books that I read from my most anticipated list from 2018 that I hadn't read yet that I owned. And you know, we had some fails and we had some wins. Let's do a little recap. First off, we started with Unearthed, which was a bit of a flop. I did finish it, but it was a 2-star. Then we had The Bells, which I really liked. I gave 4 stars. I'm not going to be continuing with the series just because it's not like something that super interests me anymore, but I'm glad that I read it, and I'm going to be keeping it on my shelves and definitely recommending it to people who are starting to get into dystopian and fantasy. Then we tried to read Children of Blood and Bone. It was not for me. It was not for me. Then we got to The Astonishing Color After, and I loved it. That's definitely my favorite one of this whole video, but The Bells is a close second. Thank you guys so much for watching. I apologize in the delay of getting this video out. It's been a long time in the making, and I've been very busy. As you can see, I'm kind of in a new setting, and I'm very excited to continue making videos and content. I've been trying to post more on Instagram too recently and TikTok, so please follow me on both. My username is at readm.blog. And yeah, that is all I have for today's video, so please consider liking, commenting, subscribing for engagement. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!